I'm Maddie.
I'm Amber.
And we're Witches Talking Tarot.
We are the weirdos in this one.
Like a song, like a sailor snubble. Flip the switch and let the cauldron bubble. Sam.
Wow. Hi everyone, I'm Maddie.
And I'm Amber.
And we're
Witches Talking Tarot.
And today we're going to be discussing practicing witchcraft, paganism, whatever, in a modern world.
Yes, I'm excited.
I'm excited about it too, because the modern world and modern society can make it a little difficult to go along with some of our things, but it can also make it easier.
Yes. There, like, as with all things, there is a balance, right? Some things are good takeaways. Some things are not good takeaways.
Mhm.
And we find a balance somewhere in between.
Right.
I think that's, like,
I'm so sorry.
oh, you're good. You're good.
Starting with, if you don't mind,
Mhm.
I'd like to talk about the internet for a minute. You know, we are in the age of the internet. Would you call this the age of the internet, or was that the 90s?
No, this is definitely the age of the internet. In the 90s, it was
the
very
rise
new.
of the internet.
Yeah, like shit was brand new. Like you begged your parents to have it, or if you were a young adult,
and then
maybe you couldn't even afford like the costs of the phone bill because the internet disc was free. Well,
that,
oh my god, it was a free
ringing
trial.
noise.
It was a free fucking trial. Yeah, the ringing noise.
It was loud as fuck.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Truly.
So the internet has its good and bad
It
when it comes to practicing, and it can be used to find information at literally the drop of a hat. I guess you could say that about anything. Not
but
just
you
the
can
craft of
find
paganism.
anything on the internet, both good and bad information. And by good and bad information, I mean you can find accurate information. You can also find wildly inaccurate information.
False, fake news. It's not even just with paganism. I'm sorry, it's not even just with paganism and witchcraft. The internet as a whole can be dangerous in the sense that anybody can post anything that they want, and they don't have to have proof that what they are saying is accurate.
Right.
So when doing research with anything, but since we're talking about paganism and witchcraft, make sure it's a reliable source, a source that you trust.
Yes. And I wholeheartedly, when I bring that up, I do mean from safety perspective, because
that as well.
Yeah,
90s stranger date. What was it like? Don't meet up with somebody you met on a chat room. I saw that episode of Degrassi. It was the first episode. I think I messaged you. She's like,
and I was so embarrassed. I was like, God, why did they make a TV show that like spelled out my childhood? I don't like it.
And now people do it all the time.
Oh, I know.
Online
now
dating.
They do it all the time. Back then, woo, God, it was a dangerous thing. It was a dangerous thing.
It is
the
still
most
dangerous. It is still dangerous. We just have more like availability to make sure whether or not someone is real or not.
But when I say safety, I mean like the safety of stones that you can like interact with or put in your water or bullshit like that. Not that it's bullshit, but you guys know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Herbs, what you can use them for, what you can't be used for. Colloidal silver, how much you can safely ingest or not. Things like that.
Blue.
Right. So like the safety and efficacy are like really what I mean. Because like if somebody says this herb can do this magically, well, to them it can, and who am I to question that? So even though a former version of me might have meant that when I was saying it, I just want to be very clear. I'm mostly talking about the safety, because people can mislead you about that as well. Like, oh, I did this and I was fine. And you guys notice when I say I did something that's way the fuck out there, I tell you I don't recommend you do it unless you want to. In which, like,
there was this lady, and she was on Dr. Phil. Had the Jilly juice. Do you guys remember Jilly juice? Now, what this was a detox juice. It was essentially cabbage and water.
Ooh.
And salt, a ridiculous amount of salt.
That sounds awful.
And you drink it, and it would dehydrate you. And of course, you would get what she referred to as waterfalls. We all know what that is. And of course, it detoxed you. Because it sucked
Sucked all the-
everything out
yeah,
of
it was
you.
like when you pour salt on a poor slug.
Yes,
It-
exactly. It just
It
um,
does that, but to your inside.
but my point with that is just because someone says they know what they're doing doesn't
Right,
mean
does
that
it?
they
Yes,
do.
and that's exactly also what I mean by like people might mislead you with the safety or
Mhm.
efficacy thing, like tell you that you can exist on nothing but carrot juice for 3 weeks. Well, no, you're gonna fucking turn orange and bad
Right.
things will happen because you can have too much beta carotene in your system.
Right, exactly.
You can have too much of certain things. It's totally possible. So, like, you know, that is also what I mean when I say like the safety per se, more than anything, like, because everybody's body's different, but at the same time, like, there's a certain level of like health, you know, that
Right.
applies to everybody. Like, if something says like make this potion, soak belladonna in it, strain it, and then drink it, and it's like that might poison.
Right. May give you a crazy trip.
May
may
yeah,
poison
but
you.
it may poison you. You may like
Yeah, like
you may practical magic that bitch.
there's a lot of what do you call them? Radicals online as well. Not just in you know,
Politics.
Christianity, Christianity, politics. There are some
There are
radical witches out
yeah.
there.
Mhm.
And
Which is why I tell you guys, you can listen to what I say, but don't necessarily do it on my account. I know I
just
can be crazy.
don't be well, when I say radical witches, I guess I mean people that are like, take this herb, it'll do this.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, which of course that's not radical in my opinion, but when they don't know what they're talking about, like I'm trying to think how to word this
When
correctly. When they say don't get an antibiotic, take this herb instead when you have a UTI, please get the antibiotic. I just recently lost a friend from a kidney infection.
yeah, true.
Like,
yeah, no. And like, because there are times for natural cures, and there are times to understand that maybe you need more than that.
infection, yeah. Like,
yeah.
I'm not saying for
and
everything.
right. And I'm not even saying like shoving a piece of garlic up there won't take care of it. That could work. I'm not gonna do that though.
Right.
I have toyed with the idea, but I cannot bring myself to do that.
Just
That is a cure though. Like that is an old natural remedy. But
Just
you
make
know, back
sure-
in the 30s, they'd shake up a soda bottle and you know, clean out that mess down there. So
just make sure that
not everything's for everybody.
just make sure what you're doing and where you're getting your information is a
Yes.
reliable source.
Yes, because
That
like
goes for your politics too. I won't get into that. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no.
I'm so maybe
Your
I should
learning
just-
witch will sometimes. So. I almost did politics today. Anyway, because like health, man. Everybody can say anything they want on the internet, and like it's good and it's bad because like you can find so much more information.
Mhm.
You can connect with people in different cultures, and you can find out with like people who live elsewhere what their actual practices are over there instead of
Mhm.
just reading about it, right? Which is another form of research, like talking to people and their lived experience, right? So there are good things about the internet. But then there's like bad things about the internet too that aren't either of the things we just talked about. And that is a physical perspective.
Mhm.
Think about the cell phone, right? Okay. Most of us carry a cell phone with us throughout our day. There's a battery in here. This battery is constantly running, you know, if your phone's on. Our bodies are batteries. So if we're in connection to each other, it's affecting that whole field. Even if it's over here and I'm over here, it's connecting. That whole field is connected. And therefore, my vibrations, my frequency is being affected, not only by the battery, but the internet coming off of it.
Right.
Because that is a frequency in and of itself, right? I'm a frequency. This is a frequency. And who's in control of this frequency?
Mhm.
Which again, not talking politics,
I know.
maybe I am talking conspiracy theory, but we do that on this show. So yeah, no.
Right. It is a conspiracy like 5G. No, but like
Seriously, like you can't tell me like I knew we were going to be doing this episode, like which originally we had talked about doing like technology in the craft, and then it morphed into practice in a modern world, right? But I still wanted to talk about the technology connection, right? And I recently got a Bluetooth earpiece because for work I have to use my phone a lot while I'm driving, but I need to drive hands-free, and I can't hear it when I just have it on speakerphone and somebody calls me and I'm driving. So I got this earpiece. But like when I use that earpiece, the back of my head feels swollen. Like not necessarily to my hand, but like definitely from the inside, but also to my hand because I haven't used it for a couple of days because I haven't been working, and like my head feels normal back here. But when I have that Bluetooth earpiece in, and I switch it from ear to ear, right? Because I don't want like to get an ear infection from constantly like no airflow or whatever. And it gives me a headache. Like it affects my whole, I can feel it. I've been paying attention. It affects me because we are frequency. Our brains emit light waves. That's what an EKG machine reads, are the light waves from our brain, right? So like we are constantly giving off the same stuff that the phones are and like all the other little Wi-Fi devices. Like,
well, and the phones themselves, not just, I mean, spiritually, yes, but also physically. Look, who is addicted to their phone? I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Okay. And I'm not ashamed to say that because it is an unfortunate thing that many people are addicted to their cell phones or addicted to the internet in one way. I mean, there's memes about people just mindlessly scrolling TikTok. Right. Look, I do that.
I mean, like US Cellular came out with like an ad of like, stop having your cell phone out at the dinner table and like connect with friends, and we'll like take money off your bill on this one day.
That's not good on your energy either. You know, like it's not good on your psyche for sure, but it's definitely not good on your energy.
Well, and it's literally like you mentioned, physical, right? Your all the reactions you get and all that stuff, all the communication you get off your phone, all that sucks your serotonin. Like you get little bursts of it. Like that's why you get addicted to your phone, because you get little bursts of this brain drug, right? But your brain has to produce it. So when you're constantly, you'll run out, just like back in the 90s. I might have been a rave kid. I might have had a little bit of experience with what it feels like when your body gets drained of this chemical, and then you be trying to go through normal life without it after you fun timed used it away. And that is what the phones do to us regularly. I mean, and that's, you know, MDMA and ecstasy are illegal, but I'm sorry, this is a lot worse for your brain, except it won't make you fry. So I'm not promoting those drugs. I'm not.
It's the same.
Just comparing. I'm comparing.
Giving children iPads. You know, not going to get too into that. I don't understand why it's a controversial topic, but I guess it is. You know,
because people like don't come at me and how I raise my kids, and I mean,
right? But they do. They get so addicted. They no longer show human or proper. They no longer know how to properly process their emotions, and that's true for adults as well. Constantly on the phone. They also. There was another thing that said satisfaction is pretty much like drained in the sense that we're not satisfied unless we have it here now.
Yeah.
As opposed to having to wait. And,
you know, I mean, that instant gratification definitely comes from this modern world in which we live, because again, there's good and bad, right?
And it creates narcissism.
It does. Like we can get whatever we want. Like I'm out of coffee, I can run to the store. I don't have to go harvest and dry and bake, you know, it's right there for me. So like there's the convenience of that modern world and that instant gratification piece. But then there's that other end of it where we want instant gratification in all places of life.
Well, and I think, you know, it comes with creating narcissism. And I think that it creates narcissism. I think that's part of how it drains people of, like, spiritually. Because when you lack empathy or sympathy, well, then you can't do what you were sent to do. You know what I mean? But we're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to take a picture of this. Everybody's going to love it. 17 likes, 20 likes, 30 likes, 40 likes, blah, blah, blah. Everybody loves my shit. You know
And
what
then
I
you're
mean?
constantly going back to check it, which means you're on that app and they are controlling you through
Exactly.
these behaviors.
Well,
they are
and-
training you instead of you
Sorry.
training yourself. No, you're fine. I'm just trying to give you plenty of room so you can comfortably, because I know I'm like all butterflied out. So
Yeah.
me and the golden girls. It says stay golden, by the way. Not
I
thanks
love
to
that.
my friends.
But it does. When you can get instant gratification or instant attention,
Yep.
then you want that constantly. And when you don't get it, you're like gonna throw a big ass fit. That's with adults and children, you know. And I think that does affect us spiritually in the sense that we're supposed to show empathy. We're supposed to care about other people, not just ourselves and how many likes and follows we get.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like TV can be said for that too. Because like I was guilty of letting my kids probably watch too much TV. I kept them away from the internet as long as I possibly could. Like literally their babysitter introduced them to YouTube. And I was like I didn't think I needed to tell her that she couldn't. Like she was a teenager and she had grown up with the internet, which is like the difference between the generations. Like I did not grow up with the internet. I got the internet as a teenager, right? It is not a fact of life. I didn't get my first cell phone until I've had the same cell phone number pretty much the whole time, unless you count a track phone that my mother bought that my husband and I shared, except that means my husband had it and also lost it. So we didn't have it when we needed it. But, you know, I got my first cell phone in 2012, I think. Like, yeah. And so I was almost 30. Like, I was 29 when I got my first cell phone. And I didn't even use it to its full capability. I probably still don't. But, like, you know, I am removed from that. You know, we are always connected because I didn't have that growing up. But when you did, that's second nature to you. So when you grow up with YouTube, you don't think that the parent of the kid that you're watching would have a problem with it. Well, you know, but I tried to keep my kids away from it because I was like, they're too young for that to be like constantly in their face, because eventually it's going to constantly be in their face. And like, I was surprised how young they started being like, I want a cell phone. So-and-so at school has cell phone. What? You're in like 4th grade. You're in 3rd grade.
Well,
no.
And the way society has evolved has made it to where it is impossible not to have children exposed to technology.
Yeah,
unless you live off the fucking grid, in the sense that they go to the doctors, there's a television on in the background. They go to the library, there's computers all over the library. They will like it's definitely going to be a thing. No, it's cool. It's definitely going to be a thing that you can't avoid.
Yeah, no,
but you should do
try
it responsibly. So, like, my children, for example, do not have iPad. I have an iPod, or I'm sorry, an iPad. Throwback to 2004. iPad. My children know I have an iPad. Do they grab it and say, "Hey, I want to play this. Hey, I want to do this. I want to do that"? No, because we've never used the iPad to play games or to watch TV or to watch YouTube. So they don't associate it with that.
Yeah.
Now, when we watch YouTube, it's on the big TV, so I know what they're watching. They're not just free range. Like, free range watching the internet on the internet with a toddler is not good. It's not good for a teenager. It's not good for a toddler. I won't get into that. I'm sorry. Yeah. But anyway, it's on the big screen, so I know what they're watching. I know they're not watching anything inappropriate. And it's not on all the time.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was rough. But because it can drain you spiritually as well as physically.
Well, and it affects our attention spans. Like, here's the thing. Like, if your attention span is 15 seconds long or 20 seconds long or 30 seconds long, however long it is that, you know, kids shows kind of train children's brains to become like these short little attention spans. We are trained to have short little attention spans.
TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok.
I'm sorry, but TikTok.
Throwback to last episodes, you're trying to meditate. You're trying to like dive deep emotionally and mentally into yoga, but you've got like a 30-second attention span. Like, it's like it's I firmly believe that they, right, the powers that be, that own this country, at least, if not the world, they are purposefully helping create a lifestyle that closes the third eye, that turns us off, that tunes us down, that lowers our frequency and our vibration so that we want to attain less. We are happy to be cogs in the machine because our frequency is down there. We're low vibrational and we have a low frequency. And like, I even think it comes down to like the clothes. Okay. So
they want to keep us asleep.
Here's a weird thing that I didn't think I was going to mention in this episode, but as I was on my way to you, I was like, nudity, also known as naturism. Okay. I have come to realize within the last few years sorry about that, within the last 5 years ish, really louder.
It's like, oh, the right guy.
In the last 5 years, I've come to realize I could happily live on a nudist colony as long as it wasn't around cold weather, right? I don't see nudity as like a sexual thing.
I grew up that way with it not being a
right,
sexual
exactly,
thing.
right?
Bryce and my husband. Oh, I'm so sorry.
No,
he did not. He grew up in
oh, don't look at me.
Yeah, don't look at me. Very, very like conservative Christian household. It was a sin to look at the opposite sex naked. It was a sin to look at yourself naked for too long. My household was not like that. We were naked all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, Dad wasn't, obviously,
right.
but like we all was naked, like all the time.
Oh yeah. And I've realized that it is very freeing. Okay. Sometimes clothes actually feel heavy to me. Not because the clothes themselves are heavy. I've come to realize the more fake the fabric is, the heavier the garment feels. And I think it's because it is low vibrational and it's like the frequency is pushing. But these are the things that are affordable. These are the things that are sold to us. It's not natural fabrics. It's not cottons. It's elastics. It's polyesters.
I hate polyester.
And that is low vibrational and that affects your frequency. And that affects your practice in a modern world. And like, as I was driving to you and I'm having all these thoughts, I was like, well, now I just want to practice my craft naked, just in the nude.
I have done a couple skyclad rituals myself, not as a group.
But yeah, no, I have as well.
And they are most of the ones that I have done have been ancestral. Because I really think, you're just that much more connected. I really do. I did a grieving ritual skyclad. And that was just the most freeing thing because I felt like it was just you're grieving, you're crying, but you're also you're completely free of the materialistic. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. And I mean, literally, there is nothing blocking your connection, right? There's literally nothing inhibiting the flow of your vibration into the ethers that exist all around us, because even though we cannot see, there is so much going around us, but the human eye cannot perceive it. So you can truly only perceive it through your third eye. And if you are awake, you can see the things. You can see what's around at all times. But if you don't realize that your vibe and your frequency is being dampened, let's say dampened by all of this stuff, right? Because I told you that Dustin from Dustin Can Read and Watch, as well as the Rewatch Recap, I'm doing like his book club with him tomorrow morning. And the book that he chose is The Witches of Brooklyn, which is a really fun kids graphic novel. And I'm excited because I'm going to put my copy that I bought to do the thing with him. Like I read it and, we're going to do the live on Instagram tomorrow morning. At this point, it won't be tomorrow morning, but I'm sure you can find it on his Instagram and watch it. But that is the cutest book, and I'm going to put it in the PPD book sales so like some kid in our community can also read it. But it's like really fun, and it's got a lot of actual magical concepts. And the little girl's having trouble controlling her gift when she experiences it. And her auntie, there's a whole point. This is the point. Her auntie says to her, like, oh, honey, whenever you're having trouble like that, just put plastic in front of your face. Plastic is a witch's kryptonite. She might not actually say kryptonite, but that is how my brain is remembering it right now.
It's actually like good
but
advice.
it is good advice.
It's actually
but we're
like,
surrounded by plastic.
right. Yes.
I mean, everywhere.
There's microplastics in the air.
There's microplastics in our body, probably.
In our food. And our,
Right.
oh, I
And so,
got
I mean,
dizzy.
like being dampened from the inside, being cut off from the inside out. And so, like, as a practitioner in the modern world, I think that's important to have in the discussion, because if you're not thinking about it, how are you going to combat it? How are you going to try and rise above? Like, we've been talking for several years about how I've been removing plastics from my household and my life, but it's hard to get rid of it. Like, it still exists.
They have made it, especially in our area, unless you live somewhere like New York City, where you can go, and Kansas City, St. Louis, bigger cities where you can go to a grocery store that is strictly zero plastic. Bring your own containers to put. We'll weigh it and then sell it to you. Like, we don't have that option here. So what we have is Aldi. You know what I mean?
And Natural Grocer.
Which is where you bring reusable bags. They still have plastic though.
Well, in a Natural Grocer, they do have like the self-serve nut stuff.
I saw they have the self-serve coffee. I want to try that.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but I know that like they have a bunch of oats and nuts and stuff like that in like self-serve bins and cereals actually. I don't know if you can bring your own container or if you have to use their bags. I don't remember that. It's been so long since I've been there. So we have like very limited, all natural, like less waste kind of packaging options, right? But that's, I guess, a good thing to bring up for this episode as well. In practicing in the modern world, some areas offer a lot more opportunity to try and escape some of that modernity, even from a modern aspect, like putting your own shampoo in bottles instead of having to buy bottle after bottle after bottle. Like there's a lot of interesting little things that go along with being a practitioner in a modern world. Like you have access to any kind of spell ingredient,
which is actually such a privilege, because know that back then sometimes they had to search for weeks to find a specific ingredient.
Or you could only do a certain spell at a certain time of year when this certain thing is going to be available.
Yes.
And we've talked about it in multiple episodes, especially like our holiday episodes, about certain things that are traditional because that would have been in bloom in that time.
But then I'm also like, but at what fucking cost? Because it shouldn't naturally be around at this time. So it's probably got GMOs.
Well, and not just that, but like also it's probably not ethically sourced for your practice. So how does that piece affect your practice if you're using ingredients that aren't ethically sourced?
It's such a huge controversy in the pagan community, specifically online. Like a lot of people are like, why the fuck would you use actual crystals? Why would you use crystals at all in your practice? Because most of them are not sourced ethically. And it's so hard because I love crystals. I love using them in my practice. But so what? It's the same with herbs. Are they harvested ethically or not? And does that affect your craft using them? Some people get spell candles at the Dollar Tree or spelling candles at the Dollar Tree because look, they ain't got a lot of money. It's 2023. Nobody has a lot of money. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna get this spell candle at the Dollar Tree. Well, and some it's like 12-year-old in God knows what country made that.
Well, and a spell candle that you're buying from like a bougie store, somebody in a third world country might have been making it as well. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
It's okay. And you're using paraffin, which is horrible. So it's like, it is a huge controversy, but I don't see how it is physically possible to use only ethically sourced products.
If you're only gathering your own and only use what you can get in your area, which is better for the environment in all ways.
It is.
You know, but like my question, like the thing that I think of the most with this is if you're using something that was not ethically sourced, how does it affect your practice?
No, absolutely.
You're using it for ritualistic purposes. You're using it for spell work.
Well, I think,
how does that affect it? You know what I mean?
I think that's why it's so important. Unfortunately, let me just state this. Unfortunately, I think that's part of why it's so important that when you buy a spiritual item, no matter where you get it, you cleanse the fuck out of it.
True.
You know,
but like you know, I would say that some people would argue, and I don't know where I feel about this, but some people would argue that like no amount of cleansing can undo that harm.
No, I get you, because I was just thinking, you know, we talked about like locally sourced. Well, there's a crystal place not that far from here, like what, 2 hours from here, you can go and you can harvest your own crystals. Is that ethical?
I
You know what I
personally
mean?
don't know. Like,
would that be?
Because I mean, here's the thing:
You're
you're taking these things
yourself,
out of the
right?
world. You're taking these things out of the earth. They're doing something where they're at. Like, we take them out because they're pretty and we like them and we want to use their energy. They have energy, right? They have a frequency. They have a job that they're doing in the place in the earth where they are. Then we take them out so that we can use that energy. But now we're removing it from where it naturally exists in the world. Now, part of me believes that like
they're gifts from God. Like, I know some people say like, oh, well, these are gifts. They're supposed to be used.
They're gifts when we're harvesting them out of like a mass mind.
Well, what do you mean? Like,
well, like, because a lot of those places where like, you can go dig your own crystals,
that's what that was my point. Which is like, is that
like
even considered ethical? You know,
right? And that's where I'm saying, like, I don't know, like, and a lot of people, and the one thing that I don't like, I think is probably the most personally, because we had our magical ethics conversation a couple weeks ago. Go check that episode out after this one if you want. But you know, personally, to me, the most ethical way that a crystal could be sourced is you're moving through nature and it calls to you, because
I'm rolling my eyes because
reaching out to you. I don't like to take them anymore. I try to leave them where they are. When they call to me, I pick them up. I enjoy them. We have a little exchange of energy, and then I throw it, because my view now is you called to me because you wanted to be moved. I am your avenue for movement because you can't move on your own, right? But the same argument could be made that you called to me so you could be moved. So I'm going to take you with me and have you with me while I need you or while you can work for me, and then I'll put you back out into nature later. The thing is, most people never put it back out into nature, and that's where I ethically think that the ethics end right there. But that is an ethical way of collecting things in nature. You know what I mean?
I laugh because my fucking grandmother, I think I told you this story. How does this happen? She's walking down at the bottoms, right? This woman stumbled upon a raw amethyst. It is a raw amethyst. I've seen it. She took it with her. Obviously, it's about this big. And it has been, it hasn't been cut. It's not cut. There's the stone part, and then inside it, it's all purple.
Yeah. And
she also found one that was orange.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck, citrine.
Well, and honestly, like, I'm pretty sure, like, I know for a fact that quartz and something else are common in our ground, and I'm pretty sure amethyst is a kind of quartz.
Oh, they're everywhere. They are literally
awesome.
Like, and she's got these giant quartz like this big in front of her house. Well, where did you get that? I found them. I went on a walk and found them. Did you find that? Yeah. Like, it's a gift.
The rocks called
she
to you,
gave me a quartz, and I think I've shown it to you. It's fucking huge. Ludo. It's like this fucking, like, this big, this thick. I'm pretty sure I've shown it to you. Raw quartz. And she took a toothbrush and cleaned it and gave it to me. It looks like something you'd buy from a store.
Yeah. No.
It is so wonderful. I don't have that gift. I can't find fucking crystals in the woods for shit. And I certainly cannot find arrowheads. This woman can find arrowheads, hagstones, and crystals like no other. Maybe she's just good eye. Like,
well, I mean, like seriously, I will be walking along and Stone will call to me and I'll look at it and I'll be like, oh shit, look at that. That is like a nice ass pizza courts,
Mhm.
And like the beaches that we walk along don't have like the nicest, but like they call to you and
Mhm.
like they're like, hey, look at me.
Well, oh yeah,
And I take that to
I
mean
hear
like move me.
rocks
That's
calling to me, but nothing like a raw amethyst.
Ugh.
That's for sure.
Well, and I think, well, I guess you do go to that same area. So, because I was going to say part of it's about where you're at. Because, like, I found raw garnet in Colorado because they have it there.
Oh
And
yeah.
I love the rocks in Colorado. They're the most beautiful. And that, okay, so another part of this modern practicing in a modern world is if we all take all the rocks we want out of nature, they are going to go away. I mean, there's a lot of fucking people. Like, the national parks don't let you take rocks for that very reason because, like, then they won't be there for other people to enjoy. And I mean, it makes sense because if you think about how many people go to the Grand Canyon every single day, and if every one of them picks up a rock every day, how many months or years before there are no more rocks to be gotten and it affects that natural, beautiful space, because I mean, like, that's a sacred space. Like, that's a sacred space, and I mean, even though it's a modern world, we should be, if we're practicing pagan or practicing witchcraft, like, the idea would be that we're respecting this world, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Because I mean, like, modern world doesn't just mean technology, it also means like living within the world and the society as it is,
Mhm.
right? Because I mean, if we are practicing pagan or practicing witch, we are living in an Abrahamic place, like
Mhm.
most
I am
countries are
s-
predominant.
Please
Like,
continue talking. I don't know if you heard me earlier. I just got suddenly so dizzy. And I think it has to do with our conversation. It started around the time we were talking about technology. And I'm not trying to sound crazy, but I'm like, maybe I'm getting like a huge universal download. So keep talking. If I'm quiet, it's not you. I'm just trying to get over this like dizzy ringing.
nope, I feel you.
I love universal downloads, not when they take forever. Like
Pressure in the head.
yes,
It's reached
yes,
here.
right here.
Oh
So-
yeah, mine too.
you too. Yeah. Okay, because I'm over here like, oh God, please continue.
Yeah, no, it is right at eye level. But I'm gonna keep my eyes open so I don't look too stoned. But it's just like inherently we are the counterculture, and that is something that is about practicing in a modern world because once upon a time most everybody was a practicing pagan. That's why the Christians have their stories about persecution, right?
Mhm.
Because they were the minority before they took over. They were the minority among the practicing pagan peoples who were like, this cult has got to be stopped. And, it was, so being a practicing pagan, living a natural life, that was what everybody was doing. So it wasn't like, oh, this woo woo bitch over here. But now we are the counterculture. So we are the woo woo bitches over here. We are the people that, you start talking about astrology and they roll their eyes at you until some shit happens in their life. And then they're like, hey, I was born on August 3rd. What can you tell me about me?
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like they're the people that roll their eyes at you when you say you love reading tarot cards. But then when some shit's happening, they're
Then
like,
they
I
want a
need
reading.
advice. Yeah.
Yep.
And so it's like there's good and bad to everything. Because I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't mind being part of the counterculture. I don't know what the good part of that is, but it doesn't bother me at all. But I'm sure there are like, there are some people who it bothers to be a part of the counterculture.
I'm sure. It's like, so I guess long story short with this one, it can be very difficult to be a practicing pagan and witch in modern society for a number of things. One, we are the counterculture.
Yeah.
There's tons of stereotypes about us. There's superstitions about us. Granted, those have been going on for centuries, but nowadays, people are kind of
right. It's like mellowed out, and then current day America, though, I would say it's not mellowed out. I don't like to let fear rule me, so it's not ruling me in any way, but I do fear that based on some of the sorry, I'm just trying to relieve the pressure on my head.
No, you feel it too.
Yeah,
To me, it was around the technology topic. I don't know about you, but
I just felt it coming down my crown, and it's about my nose now. But I do fear that with certain recent legislation that has been passed, that literal witch hunts, even if they are not to the death but to the imprisonment, I do fear that as a potential outcome.
No, I could totally see that. Also, like we had mentioned previously, the ethical sourcing and the technology and the energy blockers in itself, whether it's just technology, the internet, or instant gratification. These things are definite energy blockers. The GMOs and the chemicals and the antibiotics in our food are energy blockers. So those make it very difficult to maintain a spiritual, ethical, authentic, witchy, pagan life nowadays. But we still have the good things. We have the availability of ingredients that we wouldn't normally have. The internet can be really great for information.
It can be a beneficial source as long as you're using it with full understanding.
Yes, yeah, exactly. We have the ability to communicate with people in other cultures that we wouldn't normally be able to if it was like 20, 30 years ago, let alone 100 in a century,
We have the ability to live out loud without mass persecution.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like there might be pockets of people or even whole towns of people that are like, you fucking Satanistic bitch.
As of right now, the state can't put you under.
Right.
As of right now,
it's like a lot of people have misconceptions about what it means to be a witch or to be a pagan, or even like they have misconceptions about what a Wiccan is. And they associate a lot of these things with like Satanism, you know what I mean? And it's like,
but they have the ability to do research if they actually would. That's the thing. So being a practicing
but
witch,
we have the ability to live out loud without fear of persecution. Like if they got a mob together, like they would be against the law. They might still be able to do something, but they're not supposed to be allowed to do that.
Right. So we have some form of protection that they maybe wasn't available on Salem witch trials.
Yes, exactly.
Before,
So because like that was the law coming after you.
Exactly. So there are some benefits of being a modern practitioner. There are some hinders, whatever you want to call it, of being a modern practitioner. And I think it's all about finding that balance, like it is with the craft. We've got the yin and yang, the dark and light, the chaos and the light.
And I think that's a great way to end it because that's how we started it.
I think so too. Balance. All right. Well, thank you for sitting.
Well, you know what? Yeah, because like this is our second to last episode of season 3.
Yeah.
On Thursday, you get the season finale. But then in September, we're going to be doing season 4 premieres. We're going to be bringing you Catholic Church conspiracy theories. And
Ed and Lorraine, I'm so excited to talk about Ed and Lorraine Warren. No, they are not as cool as they are in the movies, but we'll get into that later.
We're getting exorcisms and poltergeists. Yep. So we've got a lot of fun stuff coming.
The Headless Horseman. I'm sorry. I'm so
I know.
I'm
excited. Yeah. Yes. I love all the pop culture that I'm going to have to watch for these.
Me fucking too. So. Want to give a shout out to Melissa,
Death by DVD,
Pam,
and Victoria.
Thanks for being our patrons. If you want to support this show, you can find us on patreon.com/witchestalkingtarot. Go ahead. We're also on Threads, Facebook, and Instagram at Witches Talking Tarot.
And we're on X as Classiest Witches, because we are the classiest witches. I kind of forgot what it was called for a second. I was like,
thanks for sitting with us, First Belle.
Bye. That was fun.
That was a fun
That
episode.
was, yeah.
I'm Maddie.
I'm Amber.
And we're Witches Talking Tarot.
We are the weird optimistic.
Like a song, like a Santa's snubble. Flip the switch and let the cauldron bubble. Sam.
Wow.